Ho ho ho! I hope you all have a very good Christmas and a happy New Year. I already know it's November and it seems to be early to be in the jolly good spirit of Christmas, but what a way to kickstart the Christmas spirits because there's a new movie out, and that movie is called The Red One. And also, judging the trailers, The Red One couldn't do anything wrong, right? I mean, it's a Christmas movie, it stars Chris Evans and Dwayne The Rock Johnson and their tasks to save Father Christmas, who's been kidnapped and save Christmas altogether to put people back in the Christmas spirit. This must be a movie to be great, right? And it should really enlighten everybody. Well, unfortunately, instead of it being a ho ho ho, it was a no no no. But yeah, my Christmas hat is off now. I'm already letting steam out of my head, so I'm back to my normal self. So I'm just gonna really be honest. I don't really think many people were gonna go into the Red One and actually expect this movie to be amazing or enlightening by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I don't think there was really much marketing or really much to really promote this film. I've seen like a few trailers for this movie already, and I just kind of felt it was going to be like one of those very generic Christmas, save Christmas, Father Christmas type films. It wasn't really going to make me expect otherwise. I mean, even still having Chris Evans and The Rock in this film, I don't think would have changed that. So, from the description, from what I've already told you about this film, it's a very generic movie. It doesn't really have much of a story, like I've said to you earlier. So, some of the main things that you're going to get from this film is that you have Dwayne Johnson, who plays as Callum. And essentially, he's just a bodyguard for Father Christmas. And when Father Christmas gets kidnapped and he's trying to find him, it leaves him to track where his location would be. And essentially, he comes across a character called Jack, played by Chris Evans, who's like a hacker. And there's also like some sort of subplot story with him where he's also got a family and he can't really commit to his family for other reasons. And essentially, he gets caught up with Callum and they somehow team up to just find Father Christmas and just fight any enemies that come their way. But yeah, super simple story, but there's got to be things that can make up for it. I'm sure the action must be good, right? Unfortunately, not. So the action is just so generic and also really short. Like, honestly, some action moments don't even have a longer retention than scrolling through YouTube short reels. Like, it's really that short. It doesn't even last a minute. There's really nothing that is makes you think that there's actually a good moment with this movie. So there's like an interesting thing. So uh, Dwayne Johnson's character, he has this sort of device that allows to shapeshift sizes essentially. Like he could shapeshift sizes like a small toy car to a big car. He can also shapeshift his size to get into combat situations. It really looks like it was ripped off from Ant-Man, and I'm surprised maybe like Marvel wouldn't have come out with a lawsuit like what Nintendo would have done for any other properties that we'll have. But that's besides the point. But essentially, he does like all these sort of shape shifting things, and unfortunately, like most of it doesn't really come across as really great because everything is just so short and doesn't even last, and is all forgettable. So you just don't really have anything that really just makes you thinking, "Wow, what a moment! I really like that." So unfortunately, from an action standpoint, this movie just really lacks so many elements. So they set up a lot of these moments, but they don't actually make them great. Like there was like some moments such as like I mentioned about the shape shifting thing that Dwayne Johnson gets involved in a fight scene in a beach. But there was also like another scene when they were in a essentially like a house, and essentially there's like a drinks party and everything, and they come across a like another character called Krampus. So Krampus is also another character in this movie, and essentially they do like a sort of slapping sort of tournament sort of thing. It might have looked like good in some ways, but even still, it just didn't really gave any retention or any moments to draw me in. It was just it was very short. It was underwhelming, and it did lead to like another fight scene, and it's again just lacks everything. Like this movie really just has a really poor production in terms of actually making action moments really a watch, and essentially just makes you think how it keeps your attention, because it is so forgettable and so short. What's also forgettable about the Red One is just how poorly written the characters are. So I mentioned earlier, like some characters have their own sort of subplots, like especially Jack, who is like a hacker and a bounty hunter, but is also a father. And they try scenes where essentially he is trying to be committed and loyal to his son Dylan, but essentially when things go wrong, it doesn't make you think like you view him badly for what he's doing, or essentially even when things go well and they have a happily ever after story and things get back together and all good again, predictable how the writing is anyway, it's no emotions really draw you in. It doesn't make you think that, oh, it's such a wholesome story. It makes you care about these characters. Like you really wouldn't care less about their subplot stories or any sort of emotions that really convey that. Also, like the writing dynamic as well between Chris Evans' character and Dwayne Johnson's character is so non-existent. Like they probably spend most of the screen time is essentially between dialogues between those two mostly, but there's nothing interesting or any sort of chemistry between them. Everything is just constant dialogue after dialogue, and there's no real like even fighting moments as well. They don't really do any sort of team up fighting as well. It's just like one individual fights one another or another enemy. It's just everything from a production standpoint is just so lackluster. But also other things I need to talk about is the CGI. I mean, the CGI is everything about this movie is just so heavily reliant on it, and you can like practically tell that every scene in this movie is just filled with a green screen and just looks so artificial and messy. Like even fight scenes as well look very messy. And yeah, I mean I don't really think there was any sort of like putting any effort into any sort of production there. Other things as well is just also the comedy. It's so bland and just so bad. Like you genuinely can't find any moment that you would find anything to laugh about. It's probably about as more bland than eating raw Brussels sprouts. That's just how I look at it. It's just a really poorly delivered, and they call this a comedy movie is actually really insulting to actual people who like comedy. Like there's just nothing about anything that was really a moment that you could really laugh at this movie. So to summarize, I do not recommend you watch the Red One. I guess the audience is probably for people who like bad Christmas films and pretty much likes every sort of generic slop or tropes that every Hollywood movie has always been using as crutches for many years now. This movie is just like the most unoriginal pile of misery you would see. I feel like watching this film, the last 2 hours of watching this movie is just going to make my anticipation for Christmas more miserable every single time. I'm really just speechless when it comes to this film. I don't think it's going to do well in the box office. I saw this had like a big budget as well. I mean, probably for CGI reasons, I guess, for the heavily green screen production it had. But yeah, I don't know what to say about this film. But yeah, if you've seen the Red One, let me know what you think of this movie. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of this film. If you haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe, dislike if you want to dislike. Thank you for watching. And yeah, that's about it. See you later.